Welcome to Thursdays with Tony. As some of you know, I'm a member of the Charleston Back Porch Storytellers, and as such, I like to tell stories. I tell stories about different things. Some are amusing, things about my childhood, and I also do serious things, and sometimes they're folk tales. Well, this particular story for Thursdays with Tony is a folk tale, a Japanese folk tale. Enjoy. In the far north of Japan, there was a small house in the middle of the deep, dark wood. In that house lived Katana and his wife Yoshi. Now, Katana was a wood chopper. His daily chore would be go into the woods, chop wood, carry it to the house. The next day, he would carry the wood to the village, where he would get paid with a suitable amount of yen. When Katana woke up in the morning, he looked over beside him at his wife of many years, the somewhat shriveled body and stooped body of an old woman with wrinkled face and streaked gray hair on arthritic hands that can no longer weave. He himself got up from the futon and slowly stretched to his full height. He tried to put his shoulders back, but he himself was stooped a bit with age. He wandered to the wash basin and splashed some water on his face, and looked at the tiny mirror there, at the old man with the streaked hair and extremely high forehead, and eyes squinted by years of working in the outdoors. In a few minutes, Yoshi was up and he ate his bowl of bean curd before going out the door and saying his goodbyes and headed to the deep wood with his axe. That day was like no other. He chopped wood all day, and as the sun went down, he was at home again. The following morning, he loaded the wood upon his back and strode to the nearest village. Upon arrival, he was met by some street punks, young men, not hardly more than teenagers, rabble, as he called them. They came up and got right in his face and looked at him and said, "What are you doing here, old man? What are you good for anyway?" And the biggest and brawniest got right up to his face. He could smell his breath. But Katana said nothing. He continued about his way. But he remembered that in the days of his youth, such an occurrence would have never had happened. He would have laid waste to the villainous young man. He got paid his yen and was on his way home. And on the next day, he was up again as the sun filtered through the big, tall trees around the small house. But today, he would do something different. He'd go deep, deep into the great wood to find that special tree, that special kind of wood that he could get more money for. It would be wood for furniture makers. Yes, that's what he could do. And he went deep into the wood and he found the tree and he cut it down and he loaded the wood upon his back and he started back home. But he had been gone so long, he was so very, very thirsty, and he had drank all the water it had in the small gourd. Surely there was water somewhere, and he heard a sound. It sounded like a stream, a bubbling brook it was, and he found it, and sure enough, there it was. Cool mountain water, a pool which looked like glass. And he went over and rushed to it, and he dipped his face in and pressed a cold water on his face, and he took a cold, dark drink. And he went to get some more, and he looked in the water, and there was a face in the water, but it didn't look like Katana at first, but as he looked at it, he realized it was indeed his reflection, but he was much, much younger. His hair was almost falling in his eyes now. There were no wrinkles on his face or crow's feet around his eyes. He stood up, took a deep breath, and sure enough, it was straight as an arrow. as he had been so many, many years before. He shrugged, threw the wood upon his back, and strode back to the forest in a steady, quick clip he was. Upon arriving at the small house in the woods, he left the wood outside and bounded into the cabin. But as he opened the door, he was met by Yoshi with a frying pan over her head, getting ready to hit him. Yoshi, it is I, Katana. She stopped. She was taken aback. It is you, but I know, I'm different now. I'm younger. So they sat down and had their evening meal, and he was overjoyed and bubbling, and as he told her about the pool of water in the big wood and how he put the water on his face, and in the reflection he got young again. He was so excited, but very tired. As he climbed on the futon that night, he went soundly to sleep quickly, but Yoshi didn't. She lay there thinking about herself, thinking about Katana. But Katana was now a young man. He would want a young woman, not an old woman like she was, a shriveled up crone. No, he would have to have a young woman. She finally fell asleep. But on the morrow she awoke quickly, before Katana did, and with great stealth and quietness, she left the bed. And out the door she went after putting on a heavy cloak. Later, when Katana woke up, he looked around and Yoshi was not there anywhere. She had left a bowl of bean curd on the table for him, and he ate it. And then he was off to the wood again. He had to find Yoshi. He walked through the great woods, and he saw one of her shoes. He kept walking, and sure enough, he saw another. And then another. He saw a coat by the path. And then he saw a shawl. And then he came to the pool, the magic pool, the pool with magic water that made him young again. He looked around, but no Yoshi. He called out, "Yoshi! Yoshi!" Nothing. And then he heard a sound. What was it? What sound was that? It sounded like a baby crying. Here in the forest, a baby crying. He looked. Sure enough, it was a baby. He picked it up and held it in his arms. There was something familiar about this baby. As he looked at it, sure enough, the baby's face was that of Yoshi as an infant. What? Yoshi had jumped in the pool. And what was he going to do with a baby? Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video with your friends. A thumbs up helps my channel grow too. Other videos are available, as you can check out my playlist as well as what's coming up next.